Hi there, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. My name is Alexis, and I am a resident around the South Park area. I first joined the Duwamish Valley Youth Corps my sophomore year of high school in 2019. That same year, I was able to become an official DVYC mentor, take on the Moss Study project, and even eventually become an intern within many other different projects. So being around so much industry, is no secret that South Park and Georgetown are the areas within Seattle that suffer the most in terms of air pollution. Although we can make guesses as to why long-term residents within these communities have the highest asthma rate compared to other areas of Seattle, we didn't know exactly what components were causing this issue. The reason why the Moss Study project was so profound to us that lived in the Duwamish Valley was not only because we were able to find results from samples that naturally grew and interacted with the area, but because studying moss was, as far as we knew, a fairly new concept, and because it was also a project that was heavily youth involved. Aside from Oregon, I believe it was, we were the only ones really doing this at the time. Next slide, please. So my first impression about learning about moss and what significance it holds was that it was very fascinating and a powerful tool to use for the future. Rather than investing in technology that takes a lot to build and costs more, it was much more efficient to use something that is naturally part of the Duwamish Valley ecosystem to answer questions about the Duwamish Valley ecosystem. Additionally, I was excited at the possibility of finally knowing what exactly made up the air that we all had been breathing so that we could also finally take measures to mitigate it. I think next slide, please. So, although practicing to collect moss samples and actually collecting them was really fun and made us feel like real scientists in the field, it was a really good learning experience overall, understanding that there are a lot of variables that lead to trial and error. There were many things that inhibited our ability to freely take samples from the area we wanted to, including the fact that sample areas were kind of limited since there were so many freeways and not enough trees. Moss was stuck up in high places, so safety was a big concern, and sometimes we simply just did not have the right tools at the right time to collect moss or send our samples out properly. We really went through a lot of trial and error this first time around, and although it was pretty frustrating at the time, it feels good to know that we were able to set like the standard or almost the do's and don'ts for potential future groups. And when it came down to discovering the results of our moss samples that were brought over by the scientists, although it was quite horrifying to learn of how many heavy metals were so consistently and so casually floating around in the air, and what impacts extensive exposure to it could have on us, it almost wasn't surprising in a sense. The health of the Duwamish River and the Duwamish Valley air are two things that have long been neglected by big industries that in reality, should have been more tightly regulated from the start. Not just for the sake of the environment, but for the welfare of the people living and existing there as well. When I learned about just how many heavy metals were floating around in our air and what the hotspots were within the areas, my immediate thought was, okay, now we know what sorts of things are causing these respiratory issues and why. So how do we inform everyone within our communities and draw attention to this? And next slide, please. So after learning of our findings last year in 2022, we decided that there were two ways to go about spreading information we've gathered. The first was to create a small presentation with deliverables that we could present at the annual youth forum. The second was to take bigger initiative and present at both the South Park and Georgetown Neighborhood Association meetings. And with the help of Dr. Troy and the other scientists, we were able to do exactly that. So I believe that the future of our world really is youth. Having these youth be so hands-on and involved in the project that not only pertains to environmental justice, but that also has very scientific methods and approaches to things, ensures that we are setting up our future leaders correctly to guide generations that will help correct the environmental mistakes of past generations. They will know the exact causes of air pollution within the Duwamish Valley and will even be able to teach people older than them at home. Additionally, giving voice to our youth is so imperative simply due to the fact that it allows for more representation in these complicated yet important topics and discussions. Kind of like how I am today, public speaking already gives youth more confidence, but it is important for other young people to see the work and voice of our youth groups to also feel empowered to want to make change as well. That is why investing in and advocating for youth programs, especially within the Duwamish Valley area, is so important. Having these after-school programs available for teens will encourage them to partake in community engaging activities and learn the importance of environmental justice and advocacy while getting paid. Not only are they easily accessible in South Park, but they teach youth crucial information about the world around them and teach them skills that they will be able to transfer into their academic and personal lives. Next slide, please. So not only did the Moss Study projects teach us skills such as data collecting, data analyzing, researching, teamwork, and public speaking, however, it also opened our eyes to the detriments that the industries and roadwork around us put on our physical health. Overall, it was a very unique experience, and it was very eye-opening, and I'm truly thankful for being able to have done this. And in the future, I will be able to spread awareness about air pollution while putting it on my job resume. And by involving ourselves with similar studies and advocacy work, we can continue to educate others and raise even more awareness about issues going on within our community. Although the future of our generations and our Earth is youth, we can only do so much on a wider scale. We need the help of adults who hold a louder voice against stakeholders and who can actually pressure decision makers into listening to the wants and needs of the community. That is why our youth continue to lean on adults and why I believe us adults should also continue to support our youth as well. And I think I will now pass it on to Christian to give his words.